Welcome to How I Built My Airbnb, a show for insider tips and inspiration on becoming a top notch host. From finding the perfect property to standing out in a competitive market, each episode gives actionable insights to elevate your hosting game. I'm Tony Molina, your host and co founder of Riviera Design Co., a husband wife team that transforms homes into unforgettable Airbnb experiences. Learn more at www. In this episode, we welcome Patrick Swietek, owner of property management companies The Co-Host Company and Stays You Like, which manage over 100 homes in Southern California and beyond. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Tony.
So we talked about how now manage over 100 homes. Talk to us about how you get there. Give us some background on how you even got into Airbnb in the first place.
I've always been an entrepreneur growing up, and I kind of saw that in just ever since I was 12 years old, from snowplowing people's driveways to lawn mowing people's lawns. I was always looking for opportunities of making money, and I think I always looked at places where I could solve problems with the skills I had. And that translated to when I was 14 years old when I built my first tech company, and I provided server space worldwide for people, for game servers and things of that nature. Made around $40,000 a year, and I just
40,000
knew
at 14 years old.
at 14 years old. Yeah, so I just knew I was an entrepreneur through and through. Sold that company at 18, and went through the corporate route. Because at the end of the day, when I was 18 years old, I realized no colleges wanted me. Even though I made real world value, people are like, well, your grades are pretty bad, so we're not going to take you to college. And that's when the kind of reality hit me. And I thought, okay, well, I probably have to go down the traditional path in life. The traditional path composed of a lot of things that I didn't enjoy. And maybe somebody can feel that same kind of like a mismatched puzzle piece that looks like it should fit, but it really doesn't. And that's kind of how I felt. I just didn't feel like I was pretty good for corporate, but I did it. I got my stuff together in community college, got a 4.0, went to a top 10 business school, graduated top of the class, with high honors. I got, a nice job, working for a company called Avance as a product manager, it was a short-term rental company. And I helped them scale from 200 to 1,000 plus units. And that's really where I got my first taste of the short-term rental game. And just knowing myself, knowing who I am, the whole life of success, and and I'm doing air quotes right now, success is not really success to me. Being able to go out and have a nice 401k, fully maxed out Roth IRA, going and making a really comfy salary and doing the whole 9 yards. It was not it. I just felt empty when I thought that was what success looks like. And I just went back to my old ways. I said, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing what I, truly want to do, which is being an entrepreneur. I also had the exposure to short-term rentals, and that's really where the inspiration came to build what I've built today, is through Avance. At Avance, it was great. It was a great experience. But once COVID hit, travel was dead. And that meant that we were in the red and we had to make company-wide layoffs. And I was part of those layoffs. And I tried finding jobs that were real estate related because I still wanted to be in real estate and still wanted to pursue something there. And I got fired or laid off from 3 jobs in 1 year. So, and after the third job, I realized maybe I really am not destined for the corporate life. Maybe naturally I should be an entrepreneur. And the moment I got, the last job that I kept for a longer time, I focused all my energy on buying my first short-term rental. That was the only thing that was on my mind. I thought, I never want to be in a position where, I'm, feeling like I'm relying on somebody else to provide for me, where, they can lay me off in a snap of a finger. And just being too reliant on other people was just too risky for me, especially with, getting rent and things of that nature and having to sacrifice my values to work for companies I don't believe in. Things like that. I just really didn't think that was the way to live.
What about short-term rentals or the Airbnb life attracted you the most? Because
Yeah.
You can go into entrepreneurship in a lot of ways. You can go buy businesses, you can go work for yourself, but buying, an Airbnb and going that experience is a little bit harder, right? So tell me why you were attracted so much to that.
There was something about the job, even though I didn't like the corporate environment, there's something about the ability to provide extraordinary stays for people and being in these incredible homes. It was just something super satisfying about that. And I just know I'm a very hospitable person just growing up, like even hosting poker nights or doing whatever the case may be. I always brought snacks. I always got people drinks. Like I'm always the kind of person that, like, if you come to my place, I'm going to offer you something to eat. I'm going to offer you a drink. I'm going to offer you, like, it's just like innate in me because I love that. And I love showing people around, like, especially because I was in LA at the time. So I love people coming into town from Chicago, where I was originally born, and coming to visit LA and showing them around. So I just had this innate, I just knew that that's what I love to do, is being a hospitable person. And it's a hospitality business, so you're dealing with people all the time, and I love that part. So buying an Airbnb was the best way for me to be able to exercise what I really truly love, plus own real estate. It was like the perfect thing. That's the reason why I did it.
Nice. We've talked to a few hosts now on this show, and one thing they all have in common is they truly get a lot of satisfaction over hosting, whether it's seeing the great review, talking to the guests when they check in, and knowing that they like absolutely love the place and that, their friends and family are going to enjoy the place for the weekend. It's the idea of being able to host. Entrepreneurship can come in many different ways, but the one unique thing about Airbnb is you get such a connection with the people that you're hosting.
And I think even more so, it just gives you a plethora of stories that I can tell my grandkids for life, that nobody else will be able to experience, because the kind of stuff that guests do, especially across 100 properties, is crazy. Like the amount of stuff. And so I mean, we have some great stories that I can carry on with me for a long time.
Maybe the juicy stories we can save for another episode. You bought your first Airbnb. Fast forward a few years, you're at 100 homes.
In the beginning, I was in the buying stage, right? I was in the stage where I had this one property, and this was in 2021, end of 2021. And so 2022 is when I decided to partner up with somebody that I met at a party, a mutual friend that is my current business partner to this day. Josh, I met him at a mutual event. He was flipping houses and I was doing Airbnb. I had my first Airbnb, and we decided to combine forces and really get into the Airbnb space together. We did this burr-stir model, basically taking ugly homes, renovating them with his background in renovations, and then making them into beautiful Airbnbs in Joshua Tree, California. So as we were doing that, over the last year, 2022 was all about buying properties. Now, 2023 came. I was like, you know what? I really want to find a place where we can get cash flow coming in, because these rentals are really hard to cash flow at these interest rates, especially because it was like really high interest rate environment. And so I decided to go with Josh into co-hosting. Now, I came across an opportunity in January of 2023 that eventually closed on March 1st of 2023. I was looking for one co-hosting client. Somebody came to me with 15 co-hosting clients. And so this was the origin story of, okay, buying a management company wasn't even my thought process, but I bought my first management company March of 2023. And I love the fact that I scaled so quickly, because I went overnight from 5 properties I own to having 20 to 21 properties with my existing, I inherited 15. So that was awesome. And right away, because I inherited 15, those first few months, we onboarded probably like around another 10 clients. Like, it was insane because we already had clients to show for. So we were able just to get clients like clockwork, because it's the hardest part, starting with one. Once you have, 20, it's easy to get more clients. And so that's kind of the start of that. Which started my journey to acquiring 2 more property management companies on top of that, for a total of 3, which allowed me to get over the hump of 100 signed short-term rental Airbnb clients in under 1 year.
That's awesome. Okay. So something that I've thought about and we've had discussions about
Mhm.
as we grow our company, and I've talked to other people who take on more homes, is you get to a certain point where you can't just do it all yourself, right? It's really hard for you yourself to manage guest communication and 5, 10 for you, 100 turnovers in one day. You just can't do it. How did you scale so well, yet keep such a great guest experience and make sure that you're still offering the same quality and care as you would if you were just managing one home?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. It's quality control really is about localized experience and localized knowledge. And I think one of the reasons these big companies are, and it's funny because today I just talked to two Avance leads that are looking to leave. And this happens all the time, where all these big companies that are in our market can't hold on to their clientele because they can't compete with somebody like myself, where I have the localized experience, the localized knowledge, give that local touch that allows us to be able to, scale, but also maintain that quality assurance.
What do you mean by localized experience? Like, is there an example you can share about something you do in Joshua Tree that really like hammers that home?
I'm plugged into the town. I know all the key players in town. I know all the service providers in town. I know which ones are going to be good, which ones aren't. That's going to maintain that the people is everything, right? So knowing all these people, having the right staff that I've hired with boots on the ground experience to be able to run the show while I'm in LA because I don't live there, and being able to just have all those connections to all the people is one part of it. And then also understanding the localized experience of understanding, okay, I know that a pool is going to increase your revenue by X amount, or, those kind of things to make sure that it's healthy on the owner side on a revenue standpoint, but it's also healthy on the guest side in terms of quality assurance with the people and everything of that nature.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So it's integrating the yourself through other people and then scaling, but also being able to offer that localized experience. Okay. So
right.
that's number one. And then what's the next one?
The
Next
second
piece of
thing is
advice.
going to be systems and operations all day. Now, people are great, but people fall back on systems and processes. And that's where, hiring a COO, she's incredible. She does everything operational. So she builds the SOPs, she builds anything that like is a process for something she builds. And a lot of that's tailored to the local market. For example, if the propane levels get to a certain level, then this is the person that you call for the propane levels, and then you get it restocked. Or like just all these different systematic things in the market, like we already dialed down because we have the systems for how we handle those kind of situations. So there's nothing that comes to us that though is a shock. It's kind of like, and we understand the desert. We understand there's going to be parameters where there's going to be a lot of high winds. What happens when there's high winds and it knocks down furniture and does all this? Like we have protocols for that. We have a quality assurance person that goes to every house every month and stocks the house with supplies and make sure it's not falling apart.
So it sounds like it's setting up the systems processes and then being able to automate those where like this person knows every month the same day they're going and they're filling up. If the wind is high, they know exactly how to prepare.
Right.
Um, I like that. So instead of you trying to make a decision with every single thing that comes up, you have all the systems in place and then your team knows how to operate without having to call you and,
Yeah,
and check
absolutely.
in.
I think the biggest one is values too. We can go deeper into this because this is like running a business versus just a hospitality or Airbnbs. But I think values are the biggest thing of why I'm comfortable empowering people and allowing them to make decisions on my behalf is because I've instilled the values of how you make decisions in that situation. So for example, we are guest centric. So that means that when you're making a decision, you have to keep the guest in mind and their experience in mind. You don't tarnish the guest experience because that is my value. I don't screw over guests. And so like it seems like an obvious thing, but there are situations where like, well, we can make more money off this guest. No, we can't just exploit guests. And like, or like we can't take the easy route and just like locate a guest to a hotel. Like we're hospitable hosts. Like we will take that guest and put in a different unit that we have and take the hit. Right. So it's like making decisions like that are hard. And, having those values allows people to make better decisions on my behalf without me having to be there to make those decisions.
Yeah, and because you care, and it's like it's obvious, and you say it seems obvious, but like you and I probably both know some people out there that probably wouldn't think that way and that would choose the route of just taking the extra cash and
Right.
even if that means an unsatisfied guest, but you think about it in a different way. And I love that. I think that's a great way to build a business, to instill those values. And especially in this business, you got to have values. People are staying at a home. They're not staying at a hotel. They're not
Right.
expecting, you know, the manager of the hotel to be their host. They're expecting like some reasonable connection with the
Right.
owner or the host. And you don't want to break that. So I love
Absolutely.
that. So you and I talked before the show and we talked about cash flow. And you
Mhm.
gave me an interesting stat about Vacasa and then talking
Mhm.
about how you think about running the cash flow behind the property management business. Can you share more on that?
Yeah, I think less about cash flow and more so about market segmentation. So that, I mean, that kind of goes back into buying management companies. Like a lot of people ask me, why do I buy management companies, and what's happening in this space that gives people opportunities to be a co-host or to buy a management company or to do anything like that. And it's because this is such a segmented market. Like being more boutique has a lot more advantages than being the big guy. Out of all vacation rental homes, can you guess how much Vacasa, the biggest property management company in the country, how many in the US they have? Like what percentage of the segment they have? What do you
Yeah.
think?
And I guessed like 15, 20% because you see Vacasa on so many rentals out there.
Yeah.
So
It and
15%.
and the crazy thing, it's only 2.67%. So Vacasa has 2.67% of the market share as the biggest player in our space, meaning that there's a lot of little guys that are winning. And that should be an inspiration to everybody that's listening in the fact that there's so many short-term rentals out there that are maybe managed by one or two people, or like the little guy wins in this space all day. And so I think that's a great opportunity for anybody to say, you know what, like maybe I don't have the money to buy an Airbnb per se, but I know I'm a hospitable person. I know I care about homes when they come to me, and I can do a better job than a big company can, because I'm going to be localized. I'm going to be boutique. You don't have, like, for bigger companies, you have to wait 2 weeks sometimes to get somebody on the line on the phone and schedule a call with them. If you can get people to text you and respond right away through text, just that alone, communication wise, which is so hard to scale. Like if you have that kind of touch point, that's huge. That's going to make people love you. And on top of that, you're going to care a lot more. You're going to do things a little bit more detailed. You're going to leave gift baskets. You're going to do all these little things that all these big management companies can't do at scale. And you're just going to dominate. Like you can get somebody and do them a really great service at 20%. And let's say 20%, they're making $60,000 a year. That's $1,000 a month. Who wouldn't want $1,000 more per month in extra income? Now you have five of those. Now you have $5,000 a month. That's the cool thing about being in this space, is you have that opportunity.
Yeah. And when you're talking about it from the guest perspective. Also, how many conversations do you have with owners who are with one of those big companies and they're letting, Vacasa or another company run their home and they haven't heard back,
Right.
and haven't received the same type of service. So it's like you're also offering the owner the same service that
Oh,
you are with the
absolutely.
guest. And that's just as important, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Both ways. So, I mean, if you take a look at the reviews on some, like go to Vacasa, go to Avance, go to any of these big guys. It's hard for them to compete and with how localized this industry is. But just look at their reviews. That's all you got
Yeah.
to really know. Like look at their reviews. You're gonna see that like Vacasa in some markets, I see them at like a 4.1 sometimes. It's crazy. But even in Joshua Tree, like the average is 4.85. It's a really high standard, and I'm seeing them in the 4.7s with a lot of properties.
And I guess I'm not getting any Vacasa sponsorships anytime soon, but
Oh boy.
that's okay.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Speaking of guest experience, what are like your top 2 to 3 things that allow you to offer a personalized guest experience with your homes?
We have this thing called, like, we try to respond to every guest within 5 to 10 minutes. That's usually like
That's
what we
quick.
do. And that's usually quick. Like 10 minutes is like where we kind of draw the line. And sometimes there's times where you need to give responses a little later because there's different things happening. Now, with the right team, you can get that done no problem, and you don't have to be on the line 24/7 as an individual host. So team members definitely help. But we have people on standby all the time, just waiting for people to give a inquiry or say something, and then helping them. And so 10 minutes, we try to do that with owners as well. So like owners having to wait 2 weeks, owners wait 10 minutes, and so like sometimes, and those are just normal responses, but sometimes there's like a response that requires us to go digging. And that's just going to be like, okay, well, give us a moment. Let us go digging for that. We'll get back to you within 24 hours or whatever. But for majority, if it's a small little thing like, hey, can you let the guests know this? Like, yeah, sure. So, yeah, that's kind of the one thing that we do to help with guest responses and just making sure guests feel like they cared for. The second part is going to be like we do have a lot of localized experiences. We have a concierge shop where you could do like a anniversary, surprise, and or you could do a picnic or a sound bath or something of that nature, so that people have experiences that they can do in the area. Like when people go to Joshua Tree, they want to have a little bit of that local touch to it, and so having that really helps make the experience a lot better. And then the last one is, it sounds very basic, but having just a fully stocked property with supplies is huge. Small things like salt and pepper come very much in handy. And if they don't have to go out and get salt and pepper, then that honestly saves them a lot of headache. Like having it fully stocked is one of the easiest ways you could just win big. So,
That surprised me the most when I first started hosting a few years ago at our home, Mesa Tavira and Joshua Tree.
mhm.
At first, we didn't have some basic cooking items because I was like, oh, people are coming to the desert. They're going to order food in or they'll stop at the grocery store. And then once we've stocked everything, like every single piece of thing you can imagine in the kitchen, guests started thanking us for it and they noticed it. And it like made it, really added to their experience. So fully stocked supplies
Awesome.
and then having the process there to make sure that those are stocked. We use Amazon recurrent, subscriptions, and then they get sent to our property manager on site, and then that property manager stocks between every guest. So everything, olive oil is never half full; it's always full.
Yeah.
You have some unique homes, some really unique homes that you've acquired over the years that you run with really amazing experiences. Can you share some more information on some of those?
Yeah, so we have a few that have been recognized publicly. So one of the properties that we have is called Outlaw. That's a good one. It was featured on Netflix, World's Best Vacations. That one is a really cool experience because you can go out there and they actually own a part of the town. So it's like a staged it was like a staged town and a salon, and it's like the whole like cowboy experience. And you can go there and you feel there's a chapel there as well, so you can get like people get like do like small little like elopements and things like that. So it's really cool experience because you're in a town and it's a big property and it's walking distance to the actual town. And but the town is like literally your property. Like that's like you have exclusive access to this like western town that you can like walk around and like they just have all sorts of things. So that one's really cool and very neat experience. It's got really nice, cool design, and people really enjoy it out there. So that one's like one of the best ones we have. We have another one. So that one's called Outlaw. We have another one called Mod West Ranch. That one I really really enjoy because it's in Gamma Gulch, which for the people that I mean that probably means nothing to you, but Gamma Gulch is one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in all of Joshua Tree and Joshua Tree area. So it's Pioneer Town actually. And they have these crazy boulders around the property where you can just go scaling those boulders like and it's just like it feels like you're on Mars. Like it's crazy. And they have everything imaginable at that property. They have a dress up room, they have an arts and crafts room, they have a jail cell prop thing you can walk into. They have a boxing bag. They have yoga. They have golf. They have drive-in movie theater, right? Like with actual cars that you can like rustic old cars that you can go into and watch a movie outside. They have like everything imagined under the sun. It's like they have it. Like every time I go there, I there's new things that get implemented. They have a whole playground. That it's just an insane property. They have archery. But anyways, it's just an insane property that like I definitely recommend anybody with the chance to go there and experience it and see it fully because it's truly a remarkable property. That one I recommend as well. And then we have another one that is like if you want more of a, like a luxury experience, the Boulder House. That one recently got featured in the latest Wall Street Journal article. That one is crushing it from a revenue standpoint, but also from a guest standpoint. It's just such a modern home with a lot of character and in a really great location. So, oh, and an incredible pool. So the pool is like this really long pool in between two boulder stacks. It's just like this really cool picture. And then the home is like a modern new build, white with the boulder brownish background. It just looks so cool. And to be there at night and with the stars, and it's just a modern build that just it's just such a great experience. If you just want to experience luxury in Joshua Tree, that's like the place I would highly recommend to go to.
Cool. So Mod West, Outlaw, and Boulder.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question for you. Someone listening to the show who's potentially interested in maybe buying an investment property, they've already bought one, they're considering Airbnb it. Let's say they want to talk to someone like you and better understand what they need to think about. What's your best piece of advice you can give to a potential Airbnb owner or host?
Just get something. So it sounds so dumb, but do whatever it takes to get your foot in the door. So like I like the whole idea of like, hey, I'll manage your property for 3 months for free. And then after that, like if you like me and you want to continue working with me, then it's 20%. Now that's going to get your foot in the door. Number one. Number two, it's free. So like they could try it. And number three, it's a lot harder to switch once they're kind of with you and they're kind of going with the system. So it's really great for you. Plus, it also makes a case study in case they don't go with you longer term, which they probably will, that you can actually use that to get other properties. You can say, hey, look at the numbers that I did on this property with what I managed, and I know I can do that for you. So I definitely recommend doing that kind of stuff, is taking less. It doesn't have to be the nicest house in the world, but just doing it to do it. Build that portfolio, and then over time, you can be a little bit more selective with what you take.
Love that advice. Great. Okay, so Patrick, where can people reach out and find all the amazing homes that your team manages?
Yeah, you can reach us at thecohostcompany.com. And you have to spell out the, like THE. And that's one place. And then the other brand we have is Stays You Like. So Stays, STAYSYOULIKE.
StaysYouLike.com. Got it.
And then if you would like to connect with me or just chat with me, you can feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I think that's the best way. So PATRYK _ SWI. You should be able to find me. And then, yeah, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. Well, what a cool story, amazing story, inspiring story for me and maybe many others that are looking to manage more and more homes out there. So thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your insights. It was a great conversation.
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Tony.